All right, good evening. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to carry on, move forward with our MySQL database. Today we are going to jump into Node.js. We're going to learn how to how to write code to connect our Node.js code with MySQL. Okay. I'm going to be creating a sample database, and then I'm going to write some code. I'm going to show you the MySQL npm package for Node.js, and then we are going to see how do we connect our database with Node.js. Okay. Now, if you want, you can follow along, but I would recommend, instead just concentrate, take notes. That's better. Because what I've seen is people are kind of trying to follow along, but they kind of get left behind. And before you know, I've completed the activity, and somebody is already stuck on the initial thing. Okay. If you want to, you can go ahead and follow along. But if you get stuck, for now you are on your own. Once I'm done with this, once everybody starts working on an activity, then I can come and help you guys out. Okay. Otherwise, just take notes and see how this is done. We have plenty of exercises that you guys will have a chance to practice this on. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a database, create a table, create some columns, and then insert some data in MySQL Workbench. Okay. Once I have that set up, then I'm going to move on to my Node.js part. All right. So this is going to be, looks like an ice cream database, and it's going to have some flavors of different ice creams. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is create a database. Right now it doesn't exist, so create database. Let's call it ice cream underscore DB. Okay. Successful. Let's refresh it, make sure it's there. And it's there. I'm going to double click it so that this is highlighted and selected so that my next queries are run on this database. All right. The next thing, I'm going to go ahead and create a table. I'm going to call it products. So create table products. Okay. This is your table. Now we're going to go ahead and create some columns. We'll start with our primary key and our ID column. So we'll say, let's call it product ID, following the same convention from Saturday. Gonna make it integer, auto increment, and not now. Okay, that's my first column. I'm going to add a string or a varchar column called flavor. Flavor, this is going to be varchar. Let's keep it at 30 characters. And then let's say not now. Okay, so we need a flavor. The next one we are going to set is quantity. Okay. Let's set it as integer as well. And then let's say not no. You have to specify the quantity. Okay. The last one, let's say price. Okay. Now if I can put price as integer, but what's the drawback for that? That my price is always going to be a number. It's going to be a whole number. It cannot be decimal, right? But we know in real life prices does have decimals in it, right? So there is a data type called decimal in MySQL, and that's what we will use. MySQL, we're on version 8. Let's say decimal. Okay, it's a little bit different. So let me quickly go over how the decimal works. Okay, so if you see here, it's called decimal, and then it has two letters attached to it, M and D. Okay, so it is decimal and then M, D. Okay, let's start with D. D is a little bit easier. So let's look at D. D is the number of digits to the right of the decimal point. Okay, pretty easy to understand. So let's suppose if you have a number 136.78, this is the D. Okay, so once you specify the value for D, this means these are the number of digits that you are always going to have in your database. Okay, so number of digits after the decimal point are going to be 2 in that case, in this case. Okay, if my database is going to be, you want it to be restricted to just 2 numbers, you're going to say decimal something and then 3. Okay, if this is 3, then you can have a third number to it. Okay, so if my decimal is declared as decimal, and we'll come back to M, and then 2, this means all the digits to the right are going to be 2. Okay, now if you try to input a third number to it, it's going to truncate it. It's not going to give you an error, it's just going to truncate it, and it's going to give you this thing. Okay, yes, Rick.
So that the table across the database or
Just the table.
oh,
Yeah, database, whatever we have created across the table. Yeah. So this is another data type that we are looking. Okay. All right. That's the second number. The first number M. This is a little bit tricky. M is a maximum number of digits, including the number that you're declaring as D. Okay, the total number of digits. Right. So in this case, this is my number. The total number of digits are 5. So this is what the first number indicates. Okay, the first number tells the total number of digits, that the maximum number of digits. Okay, so 5 means including the ones after the decimal. So 5 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the maximum I can have. Okay, so if you try to input a fourth digit in your database, it's going to give you an error. Okay, in decimal case, it's going to truncate it. On your left hand side, it's going to give you an error. So if you try to do this, okay, so this means it has gone up by 1, it's going to give you an error. Okay, so you cannot insert anything. So in this case, the maximum number that you can enter would be basically this. Okay, that's the range from 0 to 999 and 99. Yes. Do you have a question, please?
yeah, just a decimal. Does it have to be 0 and something?
So you are saying just decimal 78?
Yeah,
What's
just like 0.78. It could be like 2 and 2, or there could be like 3, 2, 8, 0.
oh let's see. What does it say? Can you have a 0 over here?
No.
No. Right? So it says the maximum range is from 1 to 65. So you cannot have a 0.
That's the standard.
Yes. Okay. So what you are saying is if you're trying to do this, right? So this is going to become 1, 2, 3, 3 and 2. Okay, so you cannot have a 0 for m, and the maximum is 65, right? You cannot do more than 65, all right? For the d part, the second after decimal, you can have a range from 0 to 30, but must not be larger than m. Okay, so that's the range you have. Does that make sense? Okay, so for example, my ice creams, the price, I'm not expecting it to go above 99, above $100 for a single, let's say, ice cream. Okay. Um, well, I do have a quantity, so it might go up. Okay. So let's suppose I'm selling super cheap ones, and I'm going to keep restricted to this cost. What is my decimal going to become? If my maximum is going to be 99.99, 42. Do you guys see it? So total number of digits 4, and then after the decimal 2. So it's going to become 42. Okay, if you want to add one more, just in case, this would become 5 and 2. Okay, so if you go above 99 cents, it's going to get truncated. But if you go above 999, it's going to give you an error. Okay, because you're exceeding the capacity. All right, so let's go here and then put our price to decimal and then say 5p just in case. Okay, and not. All right, last thing is a primary key. So let's go ahead and declare a primary key, which is going to be a product underscore ID. Okay, and so going to run this successful. Let's make sure this is there. Refresh. And there's my table with all my columns. Okay, any questions so far? Good. All right, so next part, I'm going to insert some rows. So let's go ahead and write those queries. Say insert into table name products. Okay, and what are the column names? I don't need product ID, is auto generated, right? But I do need flavor. I do need quantity, and then I also need price. Okay, those are the three. And then the next is values. What am I trying to insert? Let's see. All right, so let's vanilla quantity. Let's say 10, and give it a price of 2.5. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure this is running, and then we can go ahead and insert a few more. All right, successful. Let's do a select to make sure this is there. Select star from products. Okay, shows up one row. All right, so we can go ahead and insert a few more. Let's say chocolate. The quantity is 50. Let's 3, 6, 5. Okay, so now I have 2 rows. Let's go ahead and do one more. So strawberry, let's say 100. So 1, 2. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure all 3 are there. And so I have my 3 products in my products table with flavor, quantity, and price. All right, any questions? Quick recap, this is how you create a database table and then insert some values into it. All right. All right, so next we are going to jump into Node.js, and then we are going to connect to this database that I just created, and we are going to pull this information into our Node.js code. Okay. Since we have to write a program in Node.js. Node.js does not come built in with MySQL support. So if that's not the case, this means there should be a MySQL npm package, and there is, and it's simply called MySQL. Okay, it is actually maintained by the people from MySQL, so you will see that it's kind of updated with a lot of documentation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly follow this, make a connection, show you the code. Again, please remember the code I'm showing you is exactly from here. Okay. All right. So let's go over here. Let's create a, let's say, ice cream app. And then what do I need? I need ice cream dot js file. Let's make it a little bigger. You guys can see it. Oops. That went too fast. All right. Okay, so the first thing is when we are using an npm package, we need to do a require. So let's do a require. Let MySQL is equal to require MySQL. That's the package name. All right. The next thing is we need to create a connection. All right. We need to connect to our database. Now, in the next part, we need to supply the information that is required to connect to the database. For example, the database name, username, password, and all that stuff. Okay, so this way Node.js will know exactly which database to go ahead and connect to. Okay, so let's see how do we do that. Let's create a variable called connection, and MySQL, the one that we just imported, has a function called create connection. Okay, and create connection takes an object. All right, and this object has some properties, which includes the one that I mentioned, and that's what we have to supply over here. Okay, the first property is called host. This means it could be an IP address, a URL, or localhost. Okay, right now, since all our databases are running on our computer or are running on localhost, so that's why we're going to put it as localhost. Eventually, once you deploy your apps to Heroku, and we'll get to that part, your database is going to be residing on the cloud somewhere else. They are going to give you a URL, and that's what you're going to put it over here. Okay, that's what host means. For now, since all of our databases are running locally, you can either put localhost or you can put 127.0.0.1. Both of them will work. Okay, I'm going to put it as localhost. All right. The next is port number. Okay. Anybody remember the port number that we are using for MySQL? So if you go back over here, if you go to home, you look at this connection, it will mention the port number over here, 3306. Okay. So that's the port number that we are working on. So the port number is going to be 3306 for this connection. All right. Then you're going to give the username for your database. The username for my database is root. I didn't change it, so it's the default. If you didn't change anything, it should be root. Okay. This is what I was saying. The next, you have to mention the password, and it's simple string. All right, that's what I was saying, that if don't set a password that you commonly use for your email or bank account or something, because it's going to be visible over here. Okay, so I put a super secret password as password for my database, and that is what I need. Okay, you're going to put the password that you set for your database. Okay, the last parameter, the last property that you need to mention is the database. Okay, now remember, on your local host, you will have a lot more databases running, right? On Saturday, we almost created like 3 databases. So right now, if you open your tab, you will probably see like 3 or 4 databases over here. Okay, all of those are running on your local host. This is why you need to mention exactly which database do you need to connect to. Okay, so in this case, I'm connecting to the database that I just created, which is called icecream_db, and that's what I'm going to mention over here, icecream_db. Okay, just a note, this is, you haven't actually connected to MySQL yet. You have just created a variable with properties that are required to connect. Okay, there's the next function that I'm going to show you, and that's going to go ahead and make that connection. If these properties are correct, it should make a successful connection. If they're not, it's going to throw you an exception, an error, and you'll have to see what's going on. Okay, all right, let's pause over here. Any questions? Everybody understand how we are having this connection created? Okay, good. All right, so the next function is we're going to use a variable that we just created on the top. It's called connection. This is this variable over here. Okay, and the function is called connect, and this is what is going to go ahead and make that connection. Okay, um, connection, the connect function has a callback function. Again, JavaScript, Node.js, it's all about asynchronous. Okay, so over here, when you're making a connection to database, the connect function is also async. Okay, there's probably no function that you're going to see that is not going to be an async. So since this is going to be an async method, we should be expecting a callback function. Okay, and this callback function is going to give you one parameter, and the parameter is going to be error. Okay, if any error occurs, it's going to pass you that. Okay, and what I mean by that is if there's any error connecting to the database. For example, you put in your wrong password, wrong username, wrong database or something, it's going to come back over here in this error. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to catch that error and kind of show it. So you will see if this is an error. So you can do a console log as well. You can console log the error. The other thing you will see in the code is called throw error. Okay, what this means is if there is any error, stop any further progress of the program, throw this error, show it on the console, big and nice, and just stop the execution over here. That's what it means. So if there's any error, go ahead, throw that error. This means stop the execution of the program, display the whole error on the console, no need to proceed further. Okay, so if there's any error, your program is going to stop over here. Anything after that is not going to be executed. Okay, if it is executed, this means the connection was successful and there was no error. Okay, so this means the next line we can log something saying successfully connected, because if we come to line number 16, this means there was no error. All right, so let's go ahead and console log the success. Successfully connected as ID, and then I'll go ahead and explain this. There's a variable in connection, is called thread ID. Okay, again, this is kind of optional, but I want to show you guys what happens if there's no error. If it makes a connection, MySQL is going to give you back a unique ID. You don't have to use it, it's not going to be used. The only thing it assures us is that you have successfully made the connection, and this is the ID that it has made connection on. Okay, this is just a guarantee that we have successfully connected. Again, you don't need to do anything with the thread ID for now. Okay, this is just for our purposes. I'll show you what this ID is. It's going to be a number 1, 2, 3, 4. Depending on how many connections you stop, you make a new connection, you'll get a new ID. That's all it means. Okay, you can skip this part also, it doesn't matter. The only thing is you just need some message so that you are aware that you have successfully connected. Okay, which code? That's the string literals. Yeah, this is the string literal syntax. So backticks. Okay. All right. Any questions on this before I run this? This is, you have successfully created the connection, and this is what we need for now. Any questions? Good. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. Before I run this, of course, I need to install MySQL. So let's go ahead and install npm npmi MySQL. Okay. All right, looks good. Let's clear this and run this program. iStream.js. Okay, do you see this message? Successfully connected as ID and a number. Okay, the number, the ID doesn't matter. It's just giving us a message. This means everything over here is correct, and I'm able to connect to my database. Now I can go ahead and run queries, insert data, read data, delete data, and everything from my Node.js app. Okay. But you will see that the cursor kind of stops over here. It doesn't bring me back to my this command prompt over here. Okay, so stop this. I have to do a Control C and kind of stop this process. Right. What is happening is I have successfully made connection, and that's it. It's created. Until I stop it, it's going to remain over there. Okay. Usually you don't want that. What you want to do is you make a connection, you run some queries. When you're done, you want to make sure you close that connection. Okay, you don't want that connection to be open. For now, since we are not doing any queries yet, we can go ahead and end our connection once we have successfully connected. So the function is called end. Okay, now this time if I run this, you will see it is going to come back to my prompt again, successfully connected, and came back to this screen. Why? Because as soon as it connected, I went ahead and ended the connection. Again, why? For now, I'm not doing anything. This is the program completed, so I want to end my connection. Usually, you are going to move this code somewhere else, and I'll show you in a bit. But for now, this is what we are trying to do. We are going to make a connection, and we're going to stop that connection. Let's run one more time. You see the ID is kind of changing, so MySQL is keeping track of those IDs. Again, for now, you don't have to worry about this ID. It's just to show you guys that you are successfully connected. If you get an ID back, this is guaranteed that everything is good and you are able to make that connection. Let me move this. Okay. All right. Questions before we proceed. This is probably the most easiest part of all. Right. We're going to look through all the queries now. Questions? No questions? All right, so what are the four kind of queries that we looked at on Saturday? What's the first one? And I just wrote that query over here. Create, excellent. There are four. Create. Second, select or read. Okay. Update. And the last one, delete. Okay. So in short, you will hear this word a lot. CRUD or CRUD. Okay. So in short, these queries are called CRUD operations. All right. So basically, you will hear, hey, we are going to write an API, and it's going to have all the CRUD operations. All right. This means that my API is going to create, read, update, and delete stuff from my database. All right. That's what CRUD operations means. Somebody asks you, hey, what are the CRUD operations? These are the CRUD operations. Create or insert in a MySQL, read or select, update is update, delete is delete. Okay, so now we are going to write all four queries in our Node.js code, which is going to go ahead, connect to our database, and kind of basically create our CRUD operations. Okay, now before we proceed, any questions? Does everybody understand these four operations? How do we make the connection? The connect method, what is it returning? How do you end the connection? Nope. All right. So let's go ahead and do our read query first. That's kind of easier because all we have to do is do a select star from product and everything should come back. Okay. Now this query works in our MySQL because we just tried it, right? Oh, where's my query? Didn't I have a select? Oh, there it is. Okay. So now how do we pull this information into our Node.js? That's what we are going to look at next. All right. Now, I don't know why, but maybe they wanted to confuse people. Even though MySQL npm package is from MySQL, there's a slight change in MySQL query. How do you write this query over here versus how do you put it in Node.js? Select is fine. The problem, it's not a problem. The difference is between insert or create, right? We'll get to it, so make sure you understand the syntax really clearly. It's a little bit different in Node.js versus your MySQL, okay? But first we need to look at our select query. So what am I going to do is I'm going to create a function. I'm going to call it get all products. Okay, basically this function is going to go ahead and query my database, query my table, and then get every product that is in my database. Okay, I'm going to remove the end because if it ends, I won't be able to do this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call, as soon as I make the connection, I'm going to call this function. Okay, and then once this function is done, then I'm going to go ahead and end my connection. All right, so where's my connect? Okay. So the function is called query. Okay, connection dot, and then you will see this method called query. Okay. Now, in this case, query takes in 2 or 3 arguments. Now we'll start with the first 2, and then I'll show you the third argument as well. Okay. The first argument is string, and this is going to be a query that you are trying to run. All right. And the second is going to be our callback function with 3 more arguments, and we'll come back to it and fill this out. Okay, let's first go ahead and fill out the query. The query is going to be exactly the same as our MySQL. Select star from and then table name. Okay, now this function, the callback function, again, this is all in the documentation. If you look through it, they have defined the 3 parameters. Okay, so this callback function is going to give you 3 arguments. The first is error, the second is results, this is where all my data is going to be, and the third is called fields. Fields is going to have the name of your columns. All right, right now, even in your project, I haven't really seen a use for this, so usually you will see we kind of skip this. Okay, but these 2 are important, error and results. All right, we'll do the same thing. If there is any error, we are going to throw it and stop the execution of our program, and then kind of assure that it doesn't go further. Okay, if it is successful, let's go ahead and console log the results and see what we get back, and then we will see how do we parse those results. Okay, so once this query is done, I want to end my connection dot end, and this will close out my connection. Okay, all right, so the method is called query, and the first parameter is the string, the query that you are trying to run, and the second over here is a callback function, which will have the results, just like your Ajax method, your file stream methods that we have looked at Node.js. Okay, and this is just a fancy method I created. You can do the whole thing inside this function, it's all good, but this kind of looks cleaner, so I created a function, and then I'm calling this function as soon as I get my connection successful. Okay, all right, any questions before we run this and see the results? All right, if this is successful, I should get back all the 3 rows from my database. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, node ice cream, and there it is. Okay, JSON data, just like AJAX call, this also returns you JSON object. It has 3 objects. Again, why? Because I had 3 rows in my database. If I had more, it's going to give you that many objects. You will see this name row data packet. All right, you can ignore this. It's not, if you want to parse this, you're just going to parse it using whatever the property name is. For example, if I want to output product IDs or flavors, so I'm going to say results. Since this is an array, right? You guys see it? This is going to return you an array of objects. So how do we parse this? We will say results. Okay. Let's get the first one, index, and then I'm looking for flavor. Okay, this is how you would parse it. So if I run this again, the second string, I'm just getting vanilla, right? Again, why? Because I went to the first object and picked out the flavor of it. Okay, just like your JSON parsing, it's the exact same thing over here. So my point was, you can ignore this thing. This doesn't matter. It's coming from MySQL. They are kind of making use of it, but when you're parsing, you don't need this keyword over here. Okay, you don't need to worry about row data packet. You can parse it exactly like it wasn't there. Okay, this is just a placeholder that MySQL uses. But for us, when we are parsing, we don't have to worry about it. If you want a different result, for example, 2, this should give you strawberry now. Okay, let me close this out. What is it? Can you use what? For yeah. I mean, this is an array. You can do any array operations on it. Yeah. So asking, can I run a for loop? Can I run a for each? Yes. At this point, what is it? This is an array, right? You can do anything that you can do in any array. It doesn't matter. Yeah, for each, for anything you want. Okay. For now, I just wanted to show you guys what the result is coming back. So remember, when you run this query, it is going to give you an array back. All right, an array for all your rows. All right, any questions? Yes, yes. Where are you going to put it? No, don't say it. Please, no. Why not? Why can't you put it over here? What's going to happen if you put it over here? What's going to happen if I put it over here? Yes. I'll leave question. It's an async method, right? Yeah. Right? So you cannot put it over here. Why? This is going to run first before this completes. Right? Always remember async. You make sure where you're putting the placement of the functions are extremely important. But if you place it over here, it's going to come here. This is 100% going to be executed before this completes. Okay? So you don't want to end a connection before your get products is completed. And the only place to assure this is once in your callback function for your products. Okay, there is no other place in the code you can do this. Got it? Same as your Ajax, right? If you put it somewhere else, the connection is going to end before you even get the results back. You're going to get an error saying the connection does not exist, or connection was closed, or something like that. Okay? Good question. Hopefully that clarifies everybody. Does everybody understand? Okay. Well, thank you for asking, and thank you for answering, Chris. All right. Any other questions? What? Confused? Okay. Getting it? Okay. All right. So, Let's suppose we want to select, but we have a where condition. Remember the where condition? Let's suppose I'm looking for a product. I had three, right? Let's suppose I'm only looking for vanilla. All right. So what does my query looks like if I want to run in my database? It becomes select. Let me see it now. Select star from products. Okay. Where flavor is equal to let's say vanilla. Okay, if I run this, what's going to happen? I'm going to get only one row back where the flavor is matches my where condition, right? Okay, everybody get this? All right, so now how do we put this, how do we translate this into a Node.js? A bit trickier. So in this case, you're going to use the query function, same as it is, but it's going to have a third argument. All right. Let me rewrite this, otherwise it's going to confuse you guys. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite the same function. Connect dot. Oh, sorry. It's connection dot query. Okay. This time it's going to have three parameters. The first one is still going to be the same, select query, and then we're going to modify this and we're going to say select products where flavor is equal to question mark. Okay, these question marks are called placeholders. All right, what are these placeholders for? These are placeholders for values. For example, what is the value that you're looking for that has to match over there? Okay, so that value you're going to give in the second parameter, and it is going to be an array always. Okay, so for example, in this case I'm looking for vanilla, so I'm going to say vanilla. Okay, and my third argument is the same as the callback function from the previous one. So, let me put this in different lines so that the first argument is the query, the second is what this placeholder is going to be replaced with. Please note this is going to be an array. Okay, why is it an array? We'll see in a bit, but remember it's going to be an array, and this function, callback function, same as the previous one, it's going to have error and then results. Okay, we are going to have our error, so let's copy this. If there's any error, you will go ahead and throw that error. If it is successful, let's go ahead and console our results. Okay, let's go ahead and comment this out. Okay, let's go ahead and comment this out so that it doesn't run. All right, do you guys understand the syntax? Now, the first one was if there are no placeholders, a simple query like select star from products, you don't need the second parameter. If you have placeholders which are going to be changed, you need to use the second parameter, and this is going to be an array. All right, we'll run this case and then I'll show you what else you can put it. Since this is an array, it means you can pass in multiple values. All right, for now we only have one value because we only have one placeholder, and we're going to run this and see if we get just one result back. Okay, so node ice cream, and there it is. Still an array. It's still going to return you an array. Oh, I didn't do the connection end. Okay, but this time it only gives me one result back. Why? Because there's only one row with this flavor, that's why it returns me this. Okay, let me go ahead and end this and then add a connection dot end so that it doesn't keep open. Connection dot end. All right, let's go back and run this again. All right, so one row because there's only one row corresponding to this. Okay? Any questions on this before we proceed? I'll show you the array part in a minute. Okay, again, why is this an array? Because you can have multiple placeholder. For example, your query can be where my flavor is equal to something, and I want to do the price as well. I'm looking for the price as well. So, and the price is something, another placeholder. Okay, so your placeholder, the number of placeholders are going to match the number of items in the array, right? So since I have two placeholders, I need a second value, and the second value is going to be a price. So let's put price as 259. Since this is a number in JavaScript, you don't need code for it, right? It's not a string. So this means it's going to find a product where flavor is vanilla and the price is 259. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. We should get back one row. All right. If you change the price to something else, it should give you back actually nothing. So let me clear this. All right. So an empty array. There's no results. Okay. So you can check over here. Once you're writing a code, say, hey, if the results dot length is 0, this means nothing came back. You can put a nice message over here saying no results match your query. Okay, let's put that back and run this again. I have one back. All right, questions? Yes.
Is the number actually be a number, some sort of number after that, right?
It has to be a number, yes. If you pass in a string, it's going to throw an error saying, oh, there's a database mismatch or something. Yeah, it's going to give you an error. Yeah. If it is a number, it has to be number, boolean bool, so you'll say true and false or 0 and 1.
Can you use like a less than and a greater than sign in there to
Yes. Yeah, so you'll have to update the, so whatever query that you have for in SQL for greater than and less than, you can use this one over here. So you can replace it with greater than or less than. It's the same operation.
Can you put it over the number so that you did $5 and then did like anything less than $5 for that?
Over here.
Yeah.
So this is only values.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can put 5 over here. Yeah. What Kelly is saying, can I put a range? You can put 5 over here, and then you can put greater than this. Is that what you're saying? We'll have to change the query. Yeah.
In order to search for multiple.
Yeah. You can change. Yeah. Whatever SQL query is correct for greater than. Again, I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But I think the greater than, if this is the correct syntax, if this is the correct syntax, it will return you the correct rows. Yeah. You just have to make sure that you have the right SQL query. Okay, and I think this is the right one, less than or something. Okay, so any query that you have that runs for select in MySQL is the same over here. The only thing is, if you have placeholders like question marks, you have to use the second parameter, which is going to be an array, and you have to pass in each value matching the placeholder. So the first placeholder is going to pick the first value, the second is going to pick the second, the third is going to pick the third if it's there. It's 1 to 1, all right, respectively. All right. So the first one corresponds to the first one, second, third, and so forth. All right. And then, whatever operations that you have in MySQL, they're going to work over here as well. Yeah. Range, greater than, less than, everything will work. Let me put this back. All right. What else? Any other questions? Yes. What do you want to select? Say that again. Can you do what?
So instead of star, instead of selecting all,
Oh yeah.
can I use a breakpoint?
Can you put what?
Later after breakpoint?
Oh, no. It's you can put a placeholder, but it's not going to be a single question mark. This is a little bit advanced. It is double question mark. I don't want to go there yet. Yeah, it's a different. Yes. Look in the documentation. If you want your columns to be placeholder as well, they have a syntax. Good question, and it's there. We can talk about it. But it's not single question mark. It's actually double question mark. All right. Ignore that answer for now. But this is what you do. Okay, you can do it. Yes, totally. You can do the. You can make a dynamic query as much as you want, and Node.js allows you. Okay. Good question though. Yes. Any other questions? I'm looking for something more basic. It's too advanced. Yeah, we're not even there yet. We have only covered the first and the most easiest one. We still have to look at create, update, and delete. Okay. Yes. Yes.
So you don't have to run all the queries. You could just run this and
Yeah. Yeah.
you can pick which ones you want.
Yes. Yes. You can pick which one you want to run. Yes.
You don't have to run. It's not like requiring that you use all of it.
No, it's not required. But the way that we are trending towards creating an APIs, our own APIs, and by standard, when you create an API, it needs to have all those four operations. So the expectation is when you create an API, it is going to have all the CRUD operations. Okay, that's the kind of like the rule of thumb.
There'd be no point only using one.
Yes. Right. Since we are looking at isolated right now, that's why I'm showing you 1, 1, 1, 1. Eventually, you need to have all four when you create your own API. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Do we move on to the next one? Let's do one more, and then we'll do an exercise, and then we'll do create, and then you guys can work on this so that you guys are familiar with the syntax, and then I'll come back and do the update and delete. Okay. So let's do the update and delete. Yeah, let's do the create one as well. Okay. So this time I'm going to insert. I'm going to run kind of like a similar query. It's a little bit different syntax. Again, I think insert is the only one that is a little bit different from your MySQL query. So concentrate on that. Make sure you understand. The syntax for MySQL is this, but when you are running it in this way, it a little bit changes. Okay. Again, I don't know why they had to create that difference. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create a insert query, and we will call it create product. Okay. So this is good. This is good. Um, let's see. All right. Let's create a new function. This time I'm going to call it create product. Okay. Oh, I already have this. All right. We have to remember to fix the connection end, otherwise it's going to end over here. Just keep a note of it. Once we are done with this method, we'll fix that. You don't want the connection to end. Okay. All right. Let's say inserting product. Okay, so we know that this function was called. It's the same method called query, and it takes in 3 arguments. But if you are inserting, the second argument is a little bit different. Okay. Now, let me know if this makes sense. If I create a variable called SQL query, and this is going to be a string, okay? And then if I pass this in as my first parameter, does that make sense? What I just did? So I'm going to put a query over here. Let's say select something, something, something. Okay, and I'm passing this over here. It's the same thing as as this thing. Okay, the only thing is I'm taking the string out, and the reason is kind of becomes longer and longer as you put it, so it's kind of better to create a new variable, put it as a string on the top of your screen so that you can see what query you're writing. Okay, but it's basically you're passing the first as a string parameter. All right, so and the query for insert is insert into products. It's still the same as MySQL. This is where it changes. Instead of saying values and all that stuff, it's kind of similar to the update syntax. It's called set and then question mark. Question mark is again the placeholder, and this is where you're going to pass in your product information or whatever the table that you're trying to insert. Right now I'm trying to insert into products table, and what do I need? I need 3 columns, this, and this: flavor, quantity, and price. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. All right, let's see, I'm going to create a object called product. Okay, it's going to be an object, so it's going to be curly braces. All right, this object is going to have 3 properties or the number of columns that I'm trying to insert, exactly the same. So it's going to have flavor, quantity, and price. Okay, so I'm going to say flavor. Let's say Rocky. And then what do I have? Quantity. I'm going to say quantity. Let's say 40. And then it's going to have a price. Let's say okay. Everybody clear on the 2 variables that I created? SQL query, it has a string, has a query. The second is a product, it's an object, and it has exactly the same properties as your table columns. Okay, extremely important. If this was called flavor underscore ice cream in your database, you have to have the exact same name over here. Right now in my database, the column is called flavor, so I'm calling it flavor here as well. Okay, now in my insert query, this is going to be my second parameter. Okay, so what does this mean? The query function is taking a string, first option, right? The string is your SQL query. It has a placeholder. All right, the second parameter is going to be always an object. All right, in case of insert, the second parameter becomes an object. In case of select, it was an array. Okay, remember this, extremely important. If you are writing a select query or a read query, the second parameter is going to be an array, and it is going to match one-on-one with your placeholders. Okay, if it is an insert, this parameter is not going to be an array, it's going to be an object. Okay, and the object is going to be replaced over here. Now if you see it, what's happening, you're passing this query, and then you're saying replace this question mark with where column is equal to flavor is Rocky Road, quantity is 40, price is whatever the price is. Okay, that's what's happening over here. And the third argument is always going to be the same callback function. You cannot escape from this. Okay, it's going to have error, and let's see results. Let's see what results come back when I'm inserting. When I'm reading, that makes sense that the results are going to have all the rows or whatever I'm asking. Let's see what happens when I insert. What does it return? All right. We'll put the same error condition. If error is true, let's go ahead and throw error. Okay. Otherwise, let's go ahead and console log our results and see what comes back. We will end our connection here. Okay, and let's go back here, and instead of this, let's go ahead and call create product. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and run it in a minute. All right, Questions? Any questions? Everybody understand the difference between the select and the create one, right? Select array, second parameter, insert object, right? This is the most confusing part, and once it's going to happen once you get to the activity, you will still go ahead and confuse and do, oh, I'm passing an array, it's not working. It has to be a product if you're inserting, okay? And the product, it has to be an object, and the object has to match exactly the name of the column that you're trying to insert, okay? This name has to be in your database, this has to be in your database, this has to be in your database, okay? If it's not there, it's going to give you an error. What happens is it goes and it's trying to insert exactly to this column, this column, this column. If they don't exist, it's going to give you an error. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see if our insert query is correct. And then we can go to our database and see if it got inserted. Okay, so node ice cream result. Ooh, okay. So looks like it got inserted. You see this OK packet. It has some properties. This is coming from MySQL. Okay, looks like affected rows. This is an important property, right? So if affected rows will give you the number of rows it has inserted. All right, right now how many inserted? One. Why? Because we're just passing in one right now. The rest of them I think we can ignore. It's not important. The more important was this one. Oh, and look at this, insert ID. It's also giving you back the ID that it inserted with. Okay, so those two are more important. So instead of console logging the whole thing, you could just console log affected rows and ID. Okay, actually let's do that. So we can say rows inserted are going to be results dot, and the response is an object, so I don't have to worry. It's not an array, so I don't have to use the square brackets. I can just go to this property. Okay, affected rows with, let's say, product ID, because we know this is what our ID is going to be. And then you can say dollar results dot, what is it called? Insert ID. Insert ID. Okay, we can remove this. It's nicer. Okay, but if I go ahead and insert, it's going to insert the same product again. So before I insert, let's go back and make sure it actually worked. So if I run this, oh no, wrong query. Let's go back here. This one. And there's my fourth that was successfully inserted. Okay, this was inserted from my Node.js app. Go back here. Okay, questions? No questions?
So if you
Yes.
run that code again, it's just going to enter it in multiple times on the table, right?
Yes, but what is going to change in this table? It's going to insert multiple times with the same information, but what is changing?
The product ID.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, the product ID is going to, so you'll have a 5 with Rocky Road 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Okay, so again, all of them would be unique from the database. We can look at the data structure and then we can see they are kind of similar. From the database point, those are all individual and unique rows because of the ID.
This was trying to figure out what's the point of doing it this way, and then you have to write the code, run it, and basically delete it, right?
Write it from Node.js, or
Well, yeah, once you write it and run it, then it's in the table, and then you don't run it.
yes.
Repeating it, right?
Oh yeah, in production, that's not how you are going to write it. Yes, this product, this is what we call hard coded. You have hard coded over here. This would be something from a user input. Eventually, in real life, what you will have a nice input box on your front end that's going to take ice cream names, flavor, and price, and then you're going to go ahead and this would be a parameter that comes into your function, and you're going to paste it. Yes, For now, we don't have that front end, so I'm kind of hard coding these values. Yeah. Yes, Josh.
But where you have like product object, if you added a comma after that object and typed in that insert another object, would it insert them both, or would it just throw it?
No, it's not weird. These are the only three parameters that your query function will expect.
Yeah.
More here,
Yes.
but is that right syntax? You cannot put a comma in this, right?
Oh.
This is a single object, so the syntax itself is wrong. Even before this, you're going to get an error saying, I don't know what this means. So that's even not related to SQL. That's just basic JavaScript, right? Do you see it? You cannot have you have to create an array and then put it over here.
Okay.
Right? You see it? So if you want multiple objects, it has to be an array. It cannot be, this syntax is not valid, right? If you want multiple, you have to create an array of objects and then try to pass in. But the problem over here is it's only expecting an object. It's not expecting an array right now. So it's not going to work. So this is how you will have to do it. You see it? Okay, so if you want multiple objects, you have to create an array and put objects inside. All right. Any other questions? All right, so let's pause over here. Let's do an activity. I'm going to keep this code over here so that you guys can see how to kind of write this out. And the activity is number 8. Playlist read. Okay. The activity asks you to only do the select query, but I showed you the create one as well, so it's a good practice. Once you get your select query done for that exercise, take a look at it and create a playlist with using the create function as well. Okay, and then once you are done, we'll come back and I'll see if there are many questions. I think once you do it, you will have more questions. Might be looking okay since I'm writing this over here, but it's a little bit trickier once you start writing it. Okay. Let me open this activity really quickly to show you guys, and then I won't solve that. It's exactly the same thing. So start creating a database first. Create a database, create a table, and then start writing the code. So first, make sure you create a database and a table. Let's see what they're asking. Ooh, failed install. So you're going to create a database called playlist underscore db. It's going to have a table, a single table called songs. These are the columns. Make a smart guess and see what these columns type are going to be. What is going to be the primary key? Okay. And then go ahead and run some insert query. So there's some data inside your table. Okay. Once you have inserted, that's where you're going to stop. And then you're going to shift focus into Node.js. And then you're going to write some code to make sure you're getting all those rows back, just like I did for this one. Okay. This one over here. This is the basic one. Select start from songs. First, work your way. Start with this one. Well, first you're going to create the database and everything once that is set up. Make sure this one runs. Even before that, create a connection. Instead of running any queries, make sure that a connection is successful. End that connection, and then move on to the query part. Once you get to the query part, start with the basic one. Select start from products. No second parameter, just a callback. Log the results. Once you're good with this, then you can try this one with a where condition. Once you're good with this, then go ahead and do the create song or inserting some song. Okay. So the first, create the database in MySQL. Make sure you are able to connect with these properties, and then start with the select. Oh, have a good night. So once you get to the Node.js, it's possible create a connection and you might get an error back. Take a look at the error, maybe see if you can Google that error. There's a fix for that. You might or you might not. I'm not sure. Usually, I think this version has that error. You just have to update it. But let me know what that error is. And then if you just paste it on Google, you should find the solution right there. Okay. You done, Irina? Anyone trying to update their password? If you are, you can go into the administration and then user privileges, select the root, and then you can update your password if you selected something different. Oh, change the size. Yeah, just go to
Well, hey, I just remember this from last cohort, like it was super complicated. No, like, and that was, we were just like, no, I remember that. Oh. No, I didn't notice that was great.
Yeah. So you will have to go into your local host and then go into administration on the top here and then select user and privileges, administration, this tab over here. So you will see schemas and then you will see administration, select this, user and privileges. If your username is root, then you will select this and then update the password here. It looks a little bit longer than what you have because it's being hashed and all. So don't worry about that. It's going to automatically hash it for you. Just update to what you want. You'll have to disconnect and reconnect though, once you have updated it.
Is there anything you do to start up? That's the NPI.
Yeah, NPI. Yeah, but here, so start with the code and then yeah, you have to install NPI. Yeah, for this require, you need this package. You have to do NPI wherever the store is. That folder, just like you do actually. Does that make sense? So you're going to write this, right? You understand this part?
Yeah.
Right? So wherever this file exists, you're going to run npm MySQL so that this package will be installed.
Oh,
So it's inside the same folder where this is your JavaScript.
okay. So,
What? This is only accessible with yeah. Just like your Axios packages you install, so they both should be in the same path as your JavaScript file, like this. So it's probably saying it doesn't move where you're from.
I have to install it.
Yeah. Just make sure there's a folder. Or at least did that work?
I don't think so.
Adriel, your password is working now?
So I don't think it does.
You have to restart the SQL after changing.
Normal syntax for use uppercase. That tends to be default. But like the query in here, it doesn't matter if it's like select as capitalized or it's.
Yeah, MySQL as a whole is not case sensitive, but it is particular about spaces and all that stuff. Yes. you will see I do an arrest to this picture.
Right, thank you.
Select.
Let's see. You could have marked it out.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, rotate it back in.
So it's either npm install on MySQL or npm.
All right, yeah, thank you.
You here?
Yeah, easy. I made it my own direction.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, easy. It was like, yeah, I'm doing it
Right.
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 I put it the same way.
They should add that to the like, this is going to be visible. But use something. I chose this.
Can I press a question mark when I created the table or the name?
This was from.
I thought you asked, yes, but it's double question mark. Did you look at the documentation?
From the select.
Did you look at the documentation?
You're setting up the database.
You gotta look at the documentation.
And when I'm creating the table,
Creating a table? The table should already exist. I don't think there's a create table command over here. Yeah, there's no create table.
Well, there is a.
no?
Nope, I don't see it. No, you cannot create a table. I said a table should be existing. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's what I was looking, that's really why I was looking at it. But I
You can create a table using this, but eventually we'll see what you can use. But not this. Yeah. We're getting there. But this is the Is it working?
I didn't start working, I did it. Okay.
What is the status? We haven't done it, but look at the documentation and see.
There's a lot of
Yes.
Here, I'm guessing is because you feel like it's yeah. There was that I mean, they're
I know, it's always like so weird when I first waking up with it. That's what it is, yeah. When you look at it forever, we just don't see it.
Well, if you're parcels.
That's the you guys can have the not in every single at least one of them. Yeah. Wherever you're trying to send. So, but if you're trying to call all of them like one by one, so your connection that end would be in the last. I would just what I'm doing is I am in my when I create the connection, I just call one method and comment the other one out. So that's why only one connection.end runs, which is in this function. But if you have connected, you have to do in a sequence. A little bit different, but yeah, this is easier.
Can you see the bottom of the
create? So it's 8 o'clock. We'll take a break. We'll reconvene at 8:15, and then I'll quickly show you update and delete, and we'll do a group exercise after that.
Yeah. Yeah, they just mentioned flush privileges. Don't forget to flush privileges. We don't need to do that. Yeah, it works. Yeah, it came out. It's not right. I think I was thinking of changing the password actually without using the workbench. Like it's much more complicated to change like the MySQL. When you're just trying to change it in the terminal and stuff. Without the yeah. So the workbench makes it easier.
That's good.
No. Yes. And easy enough. So yeah, if you just want to update those, and then there's no deploy for. So you submitted one. The most important thing is that you have in your README it's working, like screenshot. Because obviously you can't test it the same way. It's not.
Sugar, but we
He just doesn't like it.
since
then
time.
have
I think
you
we
don't
can
need
do
it
it.
there because of the primary.
Yeah.
So take one of those math.
Definitely school, or I would say school person.
It doesn't matter. You just match. So the song that you this is matching this primary key, this is declaring that. Oh.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like you're doing, it feels like you're doing a lot more work.
I think at this point you guys have an idea of JavaScript, right? So it would be easier for you to choose, oh, I just want to learn about packages. So that's what so I would search for that. And for loops, go straight into
Yeah, you don't have to.
the
It'll show you
callbacks,
column.
closure,
Yeah, from down here.
function inside a function and the variables are not accessible outside.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, scope.
Scope. Yes. So things like that, I would go and I would see under the heading and just. Yeah, C sharp, yeah. Oh, that's what I tell people. Right, since you are already composed over here, you know, JavaScript and Node.js and all this stuff, look for a job in that, and then you can once you get into it, you can do this course and he is learning C sharp. His company is doing yeah, you can. So you know, once you get the job, you can yeah, spend. His company is exactly the same. They started with C sharp, you can, he created the first module and second. It's just easier to learn after this. Similarities are you will see it. If and for and this statement is very similar. So you say, oh, I can see this. Oh, yeah. It's more of those are used in the backend because eventually what you want to do is you want to have all the groups and heavy stuff on the backend, different entries and everything. And this pass a simple JSON basic function. Ideally, that's what we do. Shouldn't be doing any calculations, any regressive operations. All of those should be done. Thanks for that. For usually it's for each function that we have done. So
Oh, so I can just quit now, I guess.
no, so the interesting part is that if you look at that guy's bio, he actually went into the bootcamp. The only problem with him is looks like he already has like a programming experience. So if he's in a class, he'll probably just want to in the class. So it's not like he's coming from a zero background. So that's why those kind of people are like, oh, I know this, okay, now I got it, I need to know what the norm, yes. The regular crowd would be somebody who has never done program. So they're kind of going into it.
Or like that's what I hate to say the worst case, but that's what you're like aiming at.
Right.
That's
That's
what
the
the
yeah.
purpose is from.
Yeah.
It's not like people like me, I didn't watch that. I watched that program.
But you know,
But I have some
yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So I'm not
yeah.
I'm sitting
I've had in my previous work, I've had we're actually software engineers super smart guys, but they already, they didn't know web development, but it doesn't matter. Once you see the code, they know what's going on. I mean, they were super nice, but that's not what the power is going for. It is to show what everyone is. Enjoyable, saw the lighting was small,
Well, that's experience.
yeah,
It's a
that's what
difference
I'm
between, like, yeah, just basically, I like have nothing.
right, and that's the whole industry is that's what it is. You just
Oh,
you
really?
have to be yeah, you can figure it out what the syntax and everything. That's not the big deal. You can understand that. The thing is you understand
Is there somewhere where you were
syntax. It will take a long to implement C sharp, but you'll get it.
correct worded?
Don't be as like, oh, I have no idea. And you look at it, you go, oh, yeah, I know what's going on.
What's way back. I did like two basic.
Oh,
Now,
are you working in a
I quit. I worked at MCC as like the lab assistant. Like basically, I was a glorified babysitter. Watch the lab. I never got paid more than like minimum wage. I worked at not the best use of my time,
but I, you know, the way you solve those things, you should know that more solid. I think you.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't.
Straight.
Well, my problem is
Yeah.
well, my biggest problem is like I tried very times, a couple of times, and then I did. I was like, okay, forget it. I went to U of A. Did there. First, I got a CCNA.
Okay.
That would work. And then went to U of A.
No, so and what you got here as all lowercase. So that's why
That's nice.
it seems like what's happening.
So yeah, but
Every
like that's
time
kind of because like when I'm in an interview, I just told areas. Like my brain goes, shit, this doesn't like no data comes back.
And honestly, you are not going. You're not going to go. And trust me, I know people do it. They better I'm the same. The only thing is, so I could walk. I put myself. But I'm like, well, this one every time. Otherwise, I go and do this. I'm going to fail the first. I know. Keep that. Right. Try to get an improvement for it.
That's what
Go
I'm
in.
guessing, and I'm not sure.
Even this is the question they were asked, and initially you don't have to read it. I know what I want to I know what I told you this year. And then when I clean it up, and then I go back and go, okay, these are the questions they are asking, revise everything, go back.
Basically, what you have to do is you have to review
Yeah.
like you're just like, oh yeah, because like I'm. That's another problem I have. I just, but anyway, kind of the defeatist. If something goes wrong, I'm like, there must be something wrong. Like I'm not like, oh, if I just try somewhere else, I'll like worm my way in. Like I'm like, no, there's something wrong with me. I have to like go back to the drawing.
Initially, there are people who create the first interview, but people on my level or average, yeah, we are going to fill it with field. But it's the next one for you take lessons from that, you go back to what I do in the week. What I do at interview, I notebook and write questions what they ask. So by now I've built a long list of questions that I never asked. So I just go back to those questions. Usually you will see the question that answer. is asking those questions because I've heard the question from somebody else, somebody else, so it kind of comes back.
You go to enough to see it.
Yeah, you will see a pattern. But who's asking? I am asking the question, and I'm not making up the question. Questions probably
Oh, yeah.
why.
It's like what I noticed, so I probably do like 4 interviews. They all ask.
So I said eventually you want to do a come to a pattern where you're asking, yeah, you'll come back. So just, and then just note those questions and see what they can do.
Or at least note the ones you didn't do well.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's just good.
yeah, of course. Go back, look at the answers, remind it, you know. You will see, once you look at the answer, you will mean that might be asked. Yeah, you just have to keep it. All right. Any questions on the two select and sorry, create and read? Everybody good? All right. So let's look at the next two, and then we will do a small project activity. I'll talk about that in a bit. All right. So the second one is update. It's kind of similar to insert. So we'll follow the same kind of pattern. We'll create a function called update product, and we will update a single product. Okay. I'm going to write my query. Let my SQL query is equal to. Well, this is not changing, so let's make it const. Let's try this. Since I'm not going to change this. Okay. So for update, the query is kind of similar. Update table name products. Okay. Remember the keyword set. Set is for update. And then what am I trying to update? Let's put a placeholder. And then where another placeholder, something. Okay. So update product set. We will look at it. What comes over here? Where and another placeholders. Okay. So just as an insert, these placeholders were objects, right? When we were doing the insert query, the placeholder was an object. Okay, so this is in update also, this is going to be an object, and this as well is going to be an object. Okay, so let's see what we have to put. Let's create a object, call it product. Okay. I'll create a product number because I have to ask a question. Okay, so let's go ahead and call our connection.query method. Should be familiar now. The first is going to be a SQL query, so my property, and then I need to pass in values for these placeholders. How many placeholders do I have? 2, right? So I cannot pass an object because I have more than one. So what do I have to pass in? An array. Right, just like your select query. Since I have more than one placeholders, I have to pass an array of objects. Okay, just like your select query. And the reason is I have more than one placeholders. I have to pass in value for each one of them. Okay, so now this is going to be an array of objects. Why? Because an object is expected over here, an object is expected over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this array separately and pass it in. So I'm going to say const let's say product what should be a good name? Product array. Product, let's say params is better. Okay, so it's going to be an array of objects. So since I have two placeholders, I need to pass in two different objects. So the first object is going to be, what am I trying to set? The properties. Okay. What am I trying to set? So let's go ahead and update the quantity. Let's update the quantity to 300. Okay. So set, this will get replaced over here. It says set quantity to 300 where, which quantity am I trying to set? Let's set it for some flavor. Set it for Rocky Road. Okay, so the first one is for this placeholder. So the query reads update product set, update the quantity to 300 where the flavor is Rocky Road. Okay, so let's go ahead and pass this to our product params. The last parameter is always going to be a callback function with two arguments, error and results. Let's see what comes back. If error, throw error. Okay, otherwise go ahead and console log results. And then let's not forget to end our connection dot end. And this time we will go ahead and call this function over here, update product. Since this product already exists, we will go ahead and run this query. If this is successful, we'll go back to our database and make sure that the quantity has been updated to 300. So let's run this node screen. Okay, let's go back and see what came back. Affected rows. So update also gives you back the rows that have been affected. Okay, looks like the insert ID doesn't matter over here. It's only valid when you're trying to insert something. This time you're trying to update it, so that's why insert ID doesn't have anything. Okay, so one row was updated. And anything else important over here? Nope, not really. Okay, so let's go back to our SQL and refresh this to see if it got updated, and there it is, 300. Okay, let's go back here. Since this is a object, you can pass in multiple properties. For example, right now you're seeing where the flavor is this. So let's say I want to update the quantity to 500 and I also want to update the price. So what do I have to do? This is an object, comma, the property name, exactly the column name, which is price, and update the price to, let's say 650. Okay, so what's going to happen is going to run this query, is going to go back, look for this flavor and update the quantity and the price as well. Okay, so you can update multiple columns within the same query. So let's go back and kind of change the console log to say, make a nice, before we run this, we'll say number of rows updated, and then it's going to be results dot, is it an object? Yep, this is an object, so I don't have to worry about the array. I can just use this, and it should give me a number. Okay, so let's clear this, and then node ice cream successfully updated, number of rows updated 1. So let's go back here, run this query again. My quantity is updated and my flavor has also been updated. Okay, I can go back to the code and see. All right, so update is kind of similar to the insert, but this time there are two placeholders in insert. Both of them are going to be objects, right? The first one is what you're trying to set, and the second one is which row are you trying to set. Okay, if there are multiple rows, it's going to update multiple rows. So if you had multiple rows with the flavor name is Rocky Road, you will get affected rows as more than one. Okay, any questions on the update? Similar to insert. If you were able to complete the insert and the select, this should be kind of familiar. Okay. Last one is the delete. So let's go ahead and kind of work through our way for the delete as well and complete our CRUD operations. So it's going to be a function delete product. Okay. Let's go ahead and create a SQL query. Const SQL query is equal to, for delete, it is going to be delete, same as your SQL. The only difference is with the insert, the create one. So delete from table name, okay, where placeholder. Again, delete also. So update, delete, create, all three of them are taking objects. Okay. So what are we saying? Let's say const product, let's call it the same param, is equal to, so I have one placeholder. So what am I trying to update? Delete from products where, let's say flavor. You can do with the ID as well, but since we only have one flavor with this name, so it should delete only one row, where flavor is equal to this thing. Okay, so connection dot query. All right, first parameter is going to be my SQL query. Second is going to be my product param, right? Because I have one placeholder, it only has one value. All right, and the last one is going to be my forever callback function with two parameters, errors and error and results. Okay, let's go back and copy this. If there's any error, output it, exit out. If not, let's go ahead and console log the results and see what comes back. And then let's not forget to end our connection. Okay, same as your update, insert, delete is kind of similar. Delete from products where placeholder, and this is going to be a product as an object as well. You can have one object, you can have multiple. It doesn't matter. So you can do a price also if there's a price. Basically, this will say delete from product where flavor is equal to Rocky Road and price is equal to this and quantity is equal to this. Let's don't need a param. Let's go back here, minimize this, and let's go ahead and delete our product. Okay. Connection end, results should be good. And let's see, successful. One row has been deleted. Let's go back to our database, refresh this, make sure, and it's gone. Okay, let me go back to the code so you guys can see it. So your create, read, and update and delete, you can use affected rows property if you're trying to console log to make sure. Okay, for create, you can use affected rows and insert ID as well. So it's going to give you the new ID that it was inserted with. For select, you don't need any one of those. You just can do a output the whole result. It is going to have a JSON object with all the column names and properties in it. Okay. So delete, affected rows, update. You can use affected rows to check if anything changed. For create, you can use the ID, insert ID, to make sure that the new row was inserted. For select, the results is going to have all the rows or whatever the result data set is. Okay. Right. Any questions on delete or update or even create or select? Make sense? All right. Remember, when you're writing the select query, the second parameter is going to be an array with values inside it. For update, delete, it's going to be an insert. It's going to be an object with whatever the column names are in your database. Okay, exactly. These are going to have to match exactly what the column names that you have. And it should have worked for your previous activity as well. All right, any questions before we move on to the next activity? Okay, so the next activity, as Kelly was saying, what is the use of it? This is more practical, Kelly. The next exercise, you will not be hard coding those values. We are going to be actually asking the user what they want to insert. And this is actually a really big activity, so we'll do this in group. We'll follow the same format. Don't have to move. Just do it on your tables. I know, Christina, you're alone. Pick a table. And Goose, you are alone. So pick a table that has three. We'll do a lone soldier. Okay. So it's called Great Day. Nothing to do with eBay. Oh, did I say that? I'm on recording. So. All right, so I already have the database created, so I'm going to show you how this runs, and then you guys can kind of see how to do this one. Okay, let's see. ls. Yeah, I think I installed everything. All right, so uses inquirer. Okay, so what it says, the first question you're asking the user, and this is related to database. You're going to store all these values in your database. Okay, what do you like to post? An auction or bid on an auction. So let's go ahead and post something. Let's look at the first option. What is the item that you would like to submit? Let's say I am auctioning a plate of which category? Let's say kitchen. Okay, this is all text, so you can put anything you want. What would you like your starting bid to be? Let's say five. Let's say $15. Okay. All right. So your auction was successfully created. What does this mean? It actually went ahead, inserted this data in my database. Okay. So you can see what are the three columns you require other than the ID. Something for this, something for this. This could be an integer or decimal, up to you guys. I think I did a simple short way, and I think I have it as just integer. Let me see. Select star from actions. Yeah, looks like I have it as integer. Okay, so this is what the, let me go back and finish this, and then I can show you the database. Okay, so you have posted something. All right, so starting bid, varchar. All right, let's look at the second option, which is bid. Once you click bid, it is going to, so these are already something that I have inserted in my database. So this is going, selecting everything that is in your database and bringing it over here and showing you what are the items that are present in your database. Okay, which one are you trying to bid? So let's see, plate. And then I said 15. So if I say 16, okay, this is a higher bid. I should get a message saying bid placed successfully. Right? What happened over there in your database? It should go and update this bid from 15 to 16. Okay? Now, let me go back to the same one and see what happens if I do a lower bid. If I say plate and I go back and say 15. Your bid was too low, try again. Okay? So it did not update my database with the new value because the bid was lower than what already exists in my database. Okay? So two already you saw the select one. Select because all your items kind of show up over there. You're using update. You're creating because when you can add an item by saying selecting post. Okay. There's no delete, but once you are done with this, if you want to add a delete, you can do that as well. Okay. But in this exercise, for the basic one, you are using the create, read, and update, 3 queries. Okay? Exit will simply exit your app out. Okay? Let's look at the database, and I'm showing it to you, so shouldn't, but I'm giving you an idea. Okay? So in the database, I have 5 columns. The first one is an ID, then your item name, right? That and the category. Okay? Starting bid and highest bid. All right? This was my starting bid and whatever the bid that I did. Let me go ahead and refresh. This should say 16. There it is. Okay? So this was my starting bid. This was my highest bid. All of these are integers, but I would prefer go ahead and make it decimal because so that you can enter some, you'll get some experience with decimal, and then you can insert some decimal points as well. Okay. Questions? It's just one table, so no joins, nothing for now. Kelly, is this practical? A little bit. It's just I just slightly more practical. You're getting there. All right. So what is it?
It makes more sense to me to do.
Okay. All right. You're getting there. Okay. You don't have any starter code. You will have to plan it. Look at the exercises that we just did. Start with creating a database on your table. Work with on this as a group. It's a really big activity. Make sure so we are combining our inquirer, MySQL, create a database, write those queries. At least the first 3. If you get done, you can include the delete option. Otherwise, these are the ones that you have to do it. Okay. See how you guys can do this one. It's good, but it's a little bit difficult. All right. This should take you to the end of the class. To be honest, let's see if we can finish this. Other than the solution for this one, if you want me to show any code, let me know. I can pull it back up. Other than the solution for this code. Let me run this again so that you guys can see the options. These are the 3 options: post, bid, and exit. When you try to post, yeah, there's a category column as well. It's not being used right now, but it's there. It's just a varchar thing. So when you do a post, you will ask a question saying what is the item. So let's say for let's say I already have the lamp. Okay, then it just asks a category. Um, so, okay, and then the starting bid. And then when you bid, it's pulling up the items and not the category. For now, it's simpler. If you want, you can get really fancy, ask what category it should group up. But for now, this is the simple.
like you don't have to tell it. Yeah, integers. That.
Decimal is a data type. Yeah, different. Yeah, its own data type. If you want to keep it simple and not use inquirer, that's also fine. You can just use process argue if you want. The more important is that you are able to add to your database, update, and then read from the database. If you don't want to use inquirer, that's fine too. But you have to use some input, so process argue. Those are the two options. This one? Yeah, it's a list. Yeah. What? Yeah, you have to put it because this information is coming from the data.
But I just copied what.
Oh, recurring? Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you say it.
Oh, recursive? Yes.
Recursive.
Yes. Recursion? Yes. Yes.
But I don't know there's a condition for that because
You don't have what?
there's a condition.
The exit condition is there.
Yeah, you have to choose it, but
Yeah.
unless you choose it, you just go ahead and ask, right?
Right. Yeah. You just keep asking until you choose the exit. Yeah. What is it? So you will have to kind of use the same thing, keep calling that function again and again until somebody chooses exit. When they choose exit, you just end your data end your database connection.end, and that will exit the app out. Yeah. Yeah.
The new item. Yeah, I was just like thinking about how I was gonna take that data.
It's just whatever it's all. Something that matches what you're doing.
Item I would do like the paper because it might be when we're just typing it in order, like for them just to laugh. Why? I mean, if you have your whole table there, so you just do that, like, if you're really, and then you don't have to redo anything, you just yeah. Database name, auction.
Actually, space to add two things to access that. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you delete these values like you have to access the hospital interacting.
Well, it's got to be a strap. Yes, I mean, technically you should still use the insert. This would be right. It's like where is it?
I've been using that word a lot now. I don't give you a hard time.
That's how you would do the voting. So you have to do a select vote first, get the result, put that result as an array in your choices in order, then your choices will come up. Then you choose it, it will say, oh, it's the new bid, and then your update if it was greater than, if it was not, then you
Yeah. On your computer.
Wait, you're trying to get that for the bid or for the post? Yeah.
how did you work?
And even the you already got all the files. This has right, right. Yeah. So this is better because you use the connection and then you very similar to the way we do it here. But this one's slightly different. So instead of saying insert into having parentheses, this one says insert into set. Yeah, the question mark is placed as part of that. For the value, and so it's
Oh, you do that. Update, put it at the end.
yeah, so post a bid.
Yeah, so let's just take it.
Yeah, we start discussing on the core factors, but with the connection answers that
There you go. That's it, yeah. You got it.
the first step is there.
So your database
Bring it all posted.
and so
Let's bring call up here. Insert.
Oh, yeah. We're still hoping.
think about
We,
so wanted to be able to bid on something. What information
Oh.
can I save?
Other people.
yeah.
I already dressed up on Saturday, I was on the right side.
I need to find out that.
So this now.
That's the question. Was it just
Because the very first time. And then Oh, okay, like the different queries or did you have a first screen you had up with my SQL documentation? Were you looking at your workbench or?
That's one is for database.
Right.
What is it here? Context of like our class table. Okay, so the maybe we say like
Well, actually, I don't know.
Okay.
so maybe instead of having posts, maybe we change this to say we have
I'm trying to.
Well, yeah.
I think it looks way cleaner.
Still, I still have to. You just put that after instead of.
And maybe we want to query like
For that one,
so maybe we can so anticipate
choices.
tell you saying
Yeah.
So that's what you have, and then this says, I have, there needs to be unlimited. Now I'm saying that so we get to post.
It's fun for my, and this is like why,
But you would say, no, that wasn't.
so I mean, if it's just like, harmony of place is still in there, and to create your own file. So.
So do the same thing.
But it's only, so this is downloading on my computer, like calling.
Oh, that basically says, if someone's trying to put stuff from my table,
Like this.
and they try to like, so say I have like an input on my app that says like, okay, you want to post something?
Yeah.
Tell me what it is. They don't put everything just we don't want that to go in our page.
You're just saying we need to make sure
We want them, we want their page up there.
Yeah.
Hey, it's and so that's what this says. It says, you can accept an item here. I'm not going to allow.
That's where it's gonna be right. It's, the file is on the computer and the data is in.
So with the item category,
File.
and then, yeah, so bid, basically right here, this. That's why. That works. And so, let's see, so we got item.
But I thought we had tried.
So remember, post is not gonna be, post is not a column on your table, right? Post is what someone's gonna be able to do to add items to your table. But if you think about what is in your table, it's this stuff, right? And I have my table has items that are in categories, price, and has a item. Because you don't access it, they don't know what's in it. And so now that we've kind of edited this a little bit, let's think about here when we're inserting products. So we're not inserting post and bid like usually we insert an item. So now we're adding so actually share that's our first. So next
The biggest thing.
whatever you want. I mean, this is where you decide. Is it furnace or is it oven or is it all of your stuff? Okay.
Using the
Where or that's what we
oh, so you have it. No, so the name.
Well, so I changed that because that's I'm gonna use the wrong problem. It's the message. So you're missing the message. Name is the variable name. So name would be,
Yeah, that's
this
right.
is the message.
Message we go.
Right, message would be that and name would be like a variable name. So you would say, post or whatever.
Yes.
So you have it.
We were looking at
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah.
It's for input time.
Yeah.
It
But I
doesn't
guess it's
matter.
still.
Yeah, it's still the same. It doesn't matter. The input is choices. Message, your name is, yeah. Now it's, so you will say answer dot, now you can use it. Dot addition.
Just be aware, right now, these are gonna be different. Right. So for now, as we run this query, this table, but since it was created, we can. And so what we have to do is we have to redo it, basically, which is a drop table. So we want to drop this table. So down at the bottom here, where you're inserting values. And this is drop.
Yes.
So now, if you
That's why I don't have
highlight
to.
and then that one.
This,
Yeah, or even just the negative that stored. Now, if you go back over, you'll notice. Now, if you want, you can just leave that.
yeah, okay, so now that I have a message,
You can run. Oh, okay. Oh, so basically, because we so just basically from 5 down.
We're on the struggle.
Well, yeah, but we want to make it so. So what I did here is if you're on this,
I'm just gonna send you a copy of the quote.
oh, the name fire?
You have it in your computer, I have it in mine. I
So, yeah, it's tells or not.
nope, this is just telling us what is wrong. It is actually. Nope.
I like.
So we want to select, then we can use the star.
Yeah.
Not our database. Because we're already using now, so it knows to look inside that database. So now, you can see, here's our table that we created. So, yeah, so there you go, these are all the values you can. No, I haven't seen there in mine. It's true, hey, well, maybe it's got some spreadsheets.
So that initially the class I said you guys would be
If you go back now, there you can go to your database. Now you can actually start.
We were having like it was a weird like European pages like go into the pseudo app that install my SQL planner through my
if you add the version or for example we have on 8.0 from MySQL, add that version. So they were older version they were different, the newest one was what about the fun? So you guys have been working on this for like last
oh yeah, we've been trying to this is a deep we asked all those questions though.
I don't. All the but if you want, you can start like, okay, so, I got it. I know how to do it. It's like it's in problems all the time. And so that would be like, and so that's going to be in read. We have that example that I showed you. We basically have to tell it very similar things. And then
It's not exactly one. That's what I'm saying. Insert is different. If you go back to the previous line, insert is mark,
so yeah, I was going to now look at that little card. Look back at the prompts. Look at what you've done with me. So see figure out how to and then you have to
got it?
Well, we did it once.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So it's working.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
We just started.
It's tired. Yeah, that's good enough. Even if you did the post. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Teamwork. All right. So we have 3 minutes left. Keep working on it. I'll post the solution, but I want you guys to attempt it. So keep working on it. Go home. Make sure you work on this activity. It's again a really good one. It's more practical than what we have been seeing. Now Thursday we'll look at some more different queries. Okay, I'll pose a solution, but make sure work on it before you look at the solution. All right, I will see you guys on Thursday.